Hello and welcome to DNQ Football for our hot off the press reaction to the 2025 African Cup of Nations preliminary qualification round draw. Oh, it's so DNQ, isn't it? It's so DNQ. The beauty of this draw, which features just 8 teams instead of the usual 10, I'll get onto that in a moment, is that these games will actually be played next month, in a month's time, from the 20th to the 26th of March. So 8 teams instead of 10. So no Eritrea, unsurprisingly. They've dropped out of a number of tournaments, all sorts of sort of geopolitical issues, which I've covered on the channel already through various shorts and things. And I know a lot of fans I see on Twitter in particular, there's an Eritrean football page who's rightly upset that, you know, once again, because of reasons that we don't have to go into here, Eritrea aren't competing. This channel's DNQ did not qualify. In theory, we talk about the teams that didn't qualify. Eritrea, they're slipping out of that into teams that aren't even competing. And obviously that's tough. And the other side that isn't competing, the only other side that isn't competing in AFCON 2025 from the outset, including qualification, is the Seychelles. Not 100% sure at the moment why they've pulled out, or why they're not playing, should I say. Well, no, they mean the same thing. All I know is that there were some issues in World Cup qualifiers with some players of the squad boycotting. So I don't know why. I haven't gone into that rabbit hole yet. All I know is for these matches in AFCON qualification, there's 8 teams instead of 10. But at least, in some ways, it's an even number. So let me share with you what those are looking like in terms of what the matchups are. Some super interesting, some we've seen before, but nonetheless going to get into them. Let me just sort of cast our mind back to AFCON qualification for the 2023 tournament, which was played actually finished this month, but was played sort of January into February 2024. And if I run through the 10 teams there, you had Eritrea withdrew. So Botswana got a bye. Sao Tome, they're still here. Mauritius, they're still here. Djibouti and South Sudan, they're still here. Seychelles have withdrawn. Lesotho no longer here, no longer involved in this. Somalia and Eswatini are involved. And the other one was Chad and Gambia. Obviously, Gambia did really well in the 2021 AFCON. Not so well in 2023, but they did still qualify. They went back-to-back on qualification. And so quite rightly, they are no longer involved as well. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 6 matchups. So for whatever reason, there was 12 there and there's 4 here. Well, they must have rejigged the format slightly. I don't know all the details yet. But anyway, there's 4 matchups. You can see them on the screen. Somalia and Eswatini actually play each other again. I think that's a bit rubbish, if I'm perfectly honest. I think that the fact that they played each other last time, it was a 5-1 aggregate win for Eswatini. Somalia have been getting stronger. We did a video on how Somalia are the lowest ranked team, if you exclude Eritrea, in Africa, or at least they were at the time, and the time of recording. Eswatini's not a great draw. None of them are super easy because they're obviously all drawn in the preliminary round for a reason. But nonetheless, I think that you might just want to play different teams, maybe, you know, rather than once again being forced to play against Eswatini, who are, in my opinion, a very decent side. And I would give them probably the edge once again in this matchup, despite Somalia's improvement. But I'll be interested to see how that one develops. Sao Tome and South Sudan. Sao Tome are a really weird side. They got through the preliminary round against Mauritius last time, but it was a narrow 4-3 win. They've got some really talented players. Luis Leal, for example, is just the name I'm going to throw out there, the attacking player. Don't know the ins and outs of all of their squad details. I will say I think that this is a slightly tougher draw than Mauritius, though. I think South Sudan have been improving an awful lot of late. And I think they'll give them a really good go. I think that, before I even get into the other two, is one of the closest matchups, in my opinion, between these sides. I think Sao Tome, South Sudan, that will be a really feisty one. Just my opinion, of course. It could turn out nothing like that at all. Moving on to Chad versus Mauritius. Chad, of course, narrowly lost, slightly unfairly and dubiously to Gambia. There was that penalty incident, if you cast your mind back to the Gambia-Chad second leg. Obviously, a far easier draw on paper for them. Mauritius have played some matches in the not too distant past, which is great to see. They had their Four Nations tournament, which we covered a little bit. Pakistan, of course, were involved in that as well as a couple of other sides, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Were Kenya involved, or have I made that up? Was it Kenya, Djibouti? Anyway, Mauritius. I think Mauritius will struggle in this one. I think Chad are just slightly better. But it's not a bad draw. It's an entertaining draw. And I think Djibouti have got a really tricky one, if I'm honest. I think Liberia, they're not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but they are a side that I was semi-surprised, I guess, to see in this. They have, they find themselves in 1-5-2 at the moment in the FIFA World Rankings. And when you compare that with Djibouti's 1-9-2, that is a difference, of course, of 40 places. And just looking at this, just to double check what I'm saying, that is only bested by Somalia, Eswatini in terms of a gap between the sides. One of the closest, actually the closest is Chad Mauritius in terms of the rankings. It's 1-8-1 versus 1-7-7 in the favor of Mauritius. I'd still back Chad, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Please let me know in the comments if there's something I don't know about Chad. Are they really bad? Are Mauritius going to beat them? Be interesting to see. And Sao Tome, South Sudan they're reasonably close. South Sudan actually better in terms of the FIFA World Rankings, and I think I'd probably back them actually. They're also away first leg, and I always feel like if you are away in the first leg, you've got a semi-decent chance of bringing them back. If it's a close score, you can maybe beat them at home. And I know home advantage doesn't always mean a lot in some of these tournaments, but this could be one where it does. In terms of the matchup to watch, from my perspective, I would have to say Sao Tome, South Sudan. I think that'd be really, really entertaining, really interesting. Sao Tome concede an awful lot of goals. They can score goals as well. But I think all of these four matchups are really entertaining. And look, AFCON, the gift that keeps on giving, is the tournament itself's just finished. And whilst it was great, and you might notice we didn't cover all that much on DNQ, there wasn't that many. There was a few minnow hero stories, but this is the heart of DNQ for us. This is the heart of AFCON. The first round qualifiers are always fantastically entertaining. They come and go too soon. But in a month's time, from the 20th of March to the 26th of March, the first and second legs of those preliminary AFCON qualifiers will take place, and we will be bringing it to you as much as we possibly can. And there's an upcoming video to explain why March we might have a few less videos, or they might be a bit more TikTok-y format. Very exciting news, which I'll bring to you. You might have seen if you follow us on Twitter anyway, spoilers. But that's all from me. I'm really keen for your thoughts, feelings. If you're a fan of one of these African nations, if you're just a fan of African football like I am, who do you think's got the best draw here? Who do you think's got the worst draw? And which matchup are you looking forward to seeing the most? March is going to come around before we know it. Blink twice, and it will be here. And it's a sensational international break. And that means there's only one thing left for you to do, and that's hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, we'll see you next time.